I was watching TV recently, and they were going through it again, trying to look for the murderer of Big. Do you think that they'll ever find the murderer, or if you just laid that to rest?
Well, no, we haven't laid it to rest. We still very much want to see the person responsible brought to justice.
Yes.
I mean, definitely.
Faith Evans just broke her silence, and what she's saying has people's jaws on the floor. Did she finally reveal what really went down before Biggie Smalls was murdered? For years, fans have been guessing, whispering, and speculating, but now we might finally have answers. Faith has finally opened up about her relationship with Biggie, and it's nothing like what people thought. She's shedding light on the pain she carried for years, from the ups and downs in their marriage to the cheating scandals and the heartbreak that came with it. And it gets deeper. Faith reveals how the tension between Biggie and Tupac affected her personally, how their marriage was falling apart behind closed doors, and how she was left to pick up the pieces when Biggie was gunned down. But that's not all. She's also touching on her rocky past with Stevie J, giving us a window into how old wounds shaped her later relationships. From Biggie to Tupac to Stevie J, buckle up because this story is packed with love, betrayal, and the untold truth.
He said if Faith had twins, she probably had Tupac.
He did.
He did.
I had to take Big to the doctor for something. Him and Steve's were in the car with me, and I'm driving. And Big played me this Jay-Z song. That line wasn't on it, you know, but he was playing me the thing. He may have been writing to it, I don't know. But when I heard the actual song a couple months later, and I just was looking at him like, with that look of disgust, like, what are you gonna tell your child? Like, that's on record. And he just started crying, like, I'm sorry. I mean, I was under pressure. People was just talking shit.
Faith Evans' story with Biggie Smalls is one that's been told in songs, headlines, and whispers, but hearing it from Faith herself brings a whole new layer of understanding. Faith's rise as Bad Boy's breakout female artist wasn't just luck, it was pure talent. She started as a background singer, working with artists like Al B. Sure and Christopher Williams, but it was when she linked up with Bad Boy Records that things took off. Puffy saw her potential right away, and Faith quickly became the label's first lady. Her smooth voice and songwriting skills gave Bad Boy a softer edge, balancing out the hardcore sound of artists like Biggie and Craig Mack. It was during a photo shoot for Bad Boy that Faith met Biggie. The connection was instant. She said herself that it felt natural, like they just clicked. Their romance moved at lightning speed. They were married just days after meeting. At first, it seemed like a fairy tale. Biggie was blowing up in the rap world, and Faith was making a name for herself too. Fans saw them as the ultimate hip-hop power couple, two rising stars making magic together. But behind the music and glamour, things weren't always picture perfect, and that's where the cracks began. Enter Tupac. Faith says that Tupac approached her about doing a song together. At the time, Faith was focused on her music and didn't think much of it. It was just another studio session. But that session would turn into one of the most talked about moments in hip-hop history. Faith went to the studio, and afterward, Tupac invited her to a hotel to collect a check for her work. Here's where things took a turn. According to Faith, Tupac made an unexpected demand. He wanted something personal from her, and it wasn't about music. Faith was blindsided and made the decision to walk away. What Faith didn't know was that this single encounter would ignite a firestorm that changed hip-hop history and her own life forever. Suddenly, rumors were everywhere. Did Faith cheat on Biggie with Tupac? Was the East Coast queen involved with the West Coast biggest star? Faith says absolutely not, but the damage was done. The media ran with the story, fans picked sides, and Biggie was furious. At home, things fell apart fast. Biggie felt betrayed, and their marriage was under heavy strain. Faith tried to clear her name publicly, giving interviews and pushing back against the narrative, but privately, she was in pain. She was dealing with a husband who didn't trust her and a public that was eager to believe the worst. To make things even messier, Tupac himself later admitted that the rumors were part of a bigger plan to get under Biggie's skin, a calculated setup. But by then, the damage between Faith and Biggie was already deep. As if that wasn't enough, Faith's world was about to shatter completely when Biggie's life was cut short in a hail of bullets.
Early this morning in Los Angeles, the 24-year-old rapper, whose real name is Christopher Wallace,
lived in Raleigh in the 1980s.
FBI agents are looking for a man they say could. Both communities are mourning the death of the rapper known as Notorious B.I.G.
After Biggie's murder, Faith Evans' world completely collapsed. She wasn't just the wife of a hip-hop legend anymore. She was a widow at just 23 years old, left to raise their son, Christopher Jr., alone. And this wasn't just about personal grief. Faith was thrown into a storm of media attention, fan expectations, and the heavy weight of keeping Biggie's legacy alive while building her own career. Faith has opened up about how overwhelming those first years were. She was grieving the man she loved, yet the world around her kept moving. She couldn't just stop and hide away. She had a child to care for and a music career people expected her to maintain. Fans wanted albums, labels wanted hits, and people kept asking about Biggie. His murder wasn't just a headline. It haunted Faith's music, her interviews, and even her relationships. She's talked about how every song, every stage, every appearance felt like carrying the burden of Biggie's memory. While she found some healing in her music, there was always that tension. Trying to honor Biggie while also stepping out of his shadow. Raising Christopher Jr. wasn't easy either. Faith has shared how she wanted to protect her son from the chaos, but with Biggie's name always in the news, it was impossible to fully shield him. But just when it seemed like Faith might finally find peace, another storm was brewing. And his name was Stevie J. Faith and Stevie J had known each other for over 20 years. They'd worked together in the studio, and for a long time, they were just friends. But around 2016, that friendship took a turn. Fans were surprised. After all, Stevie J had his own messy reputation from love and hip-hop with a long trail of public drama, especially with Joseline Hernandez. Then came the shocker. In 2018, Faith and Stevie tied the knot in a surprise Las Vegas wedding. Fans were stunned, some cheered, others side-eyed. People wondered, was this real love or just another chapter of chaos? The couple put on a united front, but cracks showed quickly. Joseline Hernandez didn't stay quiet, throwing shots on social media and claiming Stevie wasn't over her. Then came the cheating rumors, whispers that Stevie wasn't exactly the faithful husband Faith deserved. In 2020, things hit another low point when Faith was arrested for domestic violence after a fight with Stevie. The details were messy and neither side spoke much publicly, but it was clear. Things at home were far from peaceful. Fans wondered, was Faith looking for love, or was she still trying to escape the shadow of Biggie's loss? By 2021, the fairy tale was falling apart. Stevie filed for divorce, asking for spousal support. Faith pushed back, refusing to pay, and soon they were locked in a legal battle over money, cars, and property. Meanwhile, Stevie was posting emotional public apologies online, admitting he'd hurt Faith and begging for forgiveness. But by then, it was too late. The damage had been done, and Faith wasn't about to play into the cycle any longer. Through it all, Faith stood her ground, but the question remained, why speak up now? And what did she want the world to know?
That's just never been my thing in my life, in my career, especially after Big. Like, there's so many stories and so many events that happen, and a lot of it has already been talked about. So I've never felt the need to have to explain things or clarify things to the public. I lived it, you know?
When Faith Evans finally opened up about her past, she didn't hold back. In her own words, Faith admitted, "I allowed myself to get played." And just like that, she cracked open a door fans had been curious about for decades. For Faith, it wasn't just about one betrayal, it was a pattern of manipulation by people around her, both personally and professionally. Early in her career, Faith was navigating a male-dominated industry, surrounded by people with their own agendas. She was young, talented, and in love, a combination that made her vulnerable to being pulled into situations she never expected. One of the biggest turning points, as Faith reflected, was her involvement with Tupac. She's been honest about how Tupac played her to stir the pot in the East Coast vs. West Coast drama. She thought they were simply working on music together, but Tupac wanted to rattle Biggie, and Faith became a pawn in that game. Faith has said she was blindsided, realizing too late that Tupac's friendliness wasn't just about collaboration, it was a calculated move to spark jealousy and tension. And it worked. Biggie was furious. Their marriage, which was already under pressure from the demands of fame, took a massive hit. Faith remembers the anger, the fights, and the heartbreak that followed. She was left trying to clear her name while feeling betrayed by people she trusted. That experience haunted her for years, shaping how she approached future relationships. But the pattern didn't end with Biggie and Tupac. Fast forward to Stevie J, and Faith found herself once again in a complicated, messy situation. What started as a long friendship turned into a romance that at first looked promising. But as Faith has admitted, Stevie wasn't the partner she hoped for. His infidelity, public drama, and financial demands left her questioning everything. By the time the divorce papers were filed, Faith was emotionally drained.
We believe we know who killed Big, and we believe that the LAPD knows as well.
Looking back, Faith has been brutally honest. She allowed herself to fall for people who didn't always have her best interests at heart. But here's the key. She's not playing the victim. Instead, she's owning her story, reflecting on how she was manipulated, and showing that she's learned from it. In the end, Faith's story isn't just about scandal. It's about survival, resilience, and reclaiming her truth. Faith's music has always been the clearest window into her soul. Through her songs, she's shared her grief, her love, her struggles, and her healing. Whether it's in ballads that mourn Biggie or tracks that celebrate her independence, Faith has turned her pain into art. Her role as a mother, too, has been central to her journey. Raising Christopher Jr. and supporting her family has kept her grounded, even when the industry tried to pull her in every direction. Fans have been paying attention. As Faith shares more of her truth, people are rethinking the old headlines. Listeners who once judged her are now offering support, seeing her not just as Biggie's widow or Stevie's ex, but as a survivor who's faced enormous challenges and kept moving forward. So as Faith closes this painful chapter, one thing's for sure: the world will never forget the woman behind the music. What do you think about Faith's side of the story? Did her revelations change how you see Biggie, Tupac, or Stevie J? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for music's biggest untold stories.